One of the most popular podcasts on the internet, the Call Her Daddy podcast, has been going through quite a bit of drama recently between their hosts Alex and Sofia and Barstool Sports. Yesterday, Alex did make a video on YouTube describing and explaining all of this beef, and we're going to narrow it down to a much shorter version. Alex starts it off by describing the original contract they signed with Barstool Sports. That was a 3-year deal, but they ended up getting a raise just 3 months after because of all their success.
So our original contract was a 3-year deal. We were going to make $75,000 each, and we were going to have a 3-year contract, and then the second year $85,000, and then the third year $100,000. 3 months into our first year, we got raises during Christmas time. Then after the event at the Barstool Christmas party, Dave and Erica called me back in and they gave me a raise for editing and doing all the social media and doing all the marketing. I chose not to share this raise with Sophia, and I chose to do that because Sophia made me feel uncomfortable that I did more work. And to kind of help you guys understand that, I would just be editing late night the show, and I would take a Snapchat, post it, be like, daddying episode coming soon. And Sophia came to me and was like, I don't feel comfortable, and it makes me upset that you are posting those things because it makes you look like you do more work than me, and it doesn't look good on me.
A lot of people were complaining about why they need to renegotiate, but she made it very clear that on the contract it stated that every year they had the right to negotiate again.
Right before the end of our first year, this is when the negotiation started. So the podcast literally blew up. I want to be very clear that in our original contract, it stated that at the end of each year, we were able to renegotiate our compensation.
Sophia has a new boyfriend, an big HBO executive that has told them that they are getting ripped off and that they are way below the industry standard in terms of pay.
This is where Peter really comes into play. Sophia and I allowed Peter to essentially take the reins, and he was telling us all about industry standard. You guys, you are making way below industry standard. And we were like, what the fuck is industry standard? And he's like, industry standard. I still didn't understand, like, what's the number? What is industry standard? For a while, like, we never got an answer, but all we knew is we were making significantly less than industry standard. So Peter put together a document for us, and he put together the term sheet that we were essentially going to renegotiate with and send to Barstool.
So Peter ends up drafting a term sheet for what he believes the Call Her Daddy should be making, in hopes that they will meet somewhere in the middle, and Dave, of course, tells them to F off.
The term sheet, as you heard from Dave, is one of the craziest term sheets, and it had all these outrageous asks. The 1 million, we wanted to be independent contractors, like, it goes on and on and on. So we sent it to Barstool, and in a very roundabout way, Dave Portnoy essentially told us to go F ourselves in every single hole possible. And we were like, all right.
After that deal went through, Peter Nelson started getting feelers from other companies to see if they would be willing to take the girls on for bigger pay.
This is when Peter Nelson started shopping around the industry for deals for us. He was like, girls, I'm gonna put feelers out. I'm gonna, go talk to all my friends in the industry. I'm gonna get you girls the deal that you guys deserve, yada, yada, yada. And would like send us all these text updates about like, this is what they said about you. Like, everyone loves you guys. This is great. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
Then they have one final meeting with Dave, and he offers them $500,000 a year with a bunch of other benefits. And most importantly, they were able to keep the IP after a year.
We had offers in the industry, and we were like, all right, let's go have one more conversation with Dave Portnoy. Sophia and I had different opinions on what this meeting meant. After the fact, Sophia made it clear that she was more so going in as just like a courtesy meeting. I was kind of going in praying to fucking God that Dave would be in a really good mood and be like, I actually will give you the IP, because the IP means call her daddy, just because I know it's like a term in the industry. And we sit down, Dave explained the entire situation. He offers us what I saw as the world. He's like, 500K, IP is yours, we get alcohol, we will raise the merch a little bit, etc., etc. And I'm like trying to not poop my pants right on site. And I'm like, wow, like this is okay, Dave, like yeah.
This is when the drama between Alex and Sofia started. They did not see eye to eye on this. Alex was super happy with this deal, wanted to accept it. Sofia did not even consider it.
The minute we left that rooftop meeting is when the issue started with Sofia and I. And I'm like, holy fuck, dude, this is fucking amazing. And I can tell Sofia is not matching my level of excitement at all. And I'm like, and she's like, I personally don't think that meeting changed anything. I still feel the same as when we went in.
Alex made sure to state that she wanted it to stay a duo. That's what made Call Her Daddy so special. And because of that, she started trying to please Sofia and all her contract wants.
I wanted Call Her Daddy to remain a duo. I wanted Sofia to stay at Barstool with me, and I wanted to do Call Her Daddy with Sofia so badly. 50-50. Wasn't gonna ask for more money with the editing. Wanted to do it 50-50. I wanted to shake Dave's hand right on the rooftop. And because I wanted Sofia to come to Barstool with me, obviously, so badly, and I wanted this deal, I was like, all right, I'm pretty sure he's going to literally tell us to go fuck ourselves, but let's give it a try.
Sofia ended up wanting more and more ridiculous terms, hoping that Barstool would meet him. And once Barstool did meet them, she added another ridiculous term, and it just made like a huge whack-a-mole game.
It got to the point of how much Sofia was wanting to ask for more. Every single time Dave and Erica would hit one of Sofia's numbers, not even my number, like Sofia's number. For example, on the alcohol, they were started at 5%, and Sofia was like, I will not take this deal if we don't hit 20%. And I was like, 20%, all right, fuck us, but let's go for it. Barstool gives us 20%. Then another issue arises. Sofia wants more over here, over here, over here, over here. It was like whack-a-mole. It was like they would hit her point, and it was literally, it was crazy because my numbers were lower and they kept hitting her numbers. And it would be like, they hit this point, on to the next, on to the next, on to that. And it literally got exhausting.
The two hosts ended up going through a phone call, and the main gist of it was that Alex saw the value in the IP and really wanted to call her daddy IP, while Sofia thought if they did it once, they can do it again without Barstool and without the IP and just start over from scratch.
In my opinion, she seemed very upset. And so she texted me one day and she said, can we get on a phone call? And I said, absolutely, let's get on the phone call. This is what I call, and Sofia will know what I'm talking about, the infamous 2-hour phone call. So I asked Sofia, what is there, Sofia, to hate about this Barstool deal? Why are you so willing to abandon the Call Her Daddy brand to go start something new? And Sofia said, the IP, it is the most important thing, but it's not as important to me as it is to you, Alex. I get you think the IP is the end-all be-all, but I feel differently about that.
After the phone call, Alex gives strong indications that either Sofia or Peter leaked their original contract, trying to make Barstool look bad because it was even before their original raises.
2 days after this phone call, the first New York Post article dropped on this entire situation. And it was our leaked contracts from Barstool Sports. It was our first year contract, which actually wasn't even the final contract we ended up signing. But there are 5 people on this planet who have that initial contract. Me, Barstool, our lawyer, Sofia, my lawyer, Sophia Franklin, and Peter Nelson.
Then Alex gets a phone call the next morning from their lawyer saying that Sofia added a talent agency into this, and they changed up the contract, added a few points, which made it look identical to the original contract they sent to Dave that he laughed at and rejected.
And I get a call from my lawyer, and he says, hi, Alex, I'm not sure if you're aware, but Sofia has brought in her own agents from WME. So that's like a talent agency. and they have made changes to Sophia and your deal. This document now and the edits looked pretty identical to the first crazy aggressive ask term sheet that Peter Nelson had drafted up for us. The girls will get the IP at the end of the 12 months, or also if they just terminate.
At that point, she knew that it was never going to work with Sophia and that she was actually trying to sabotage this. So she decided to call Dave, have a sit down with him, and tell him that she is willing to negotiate her own contract without Sophia's. And she's the one that does a lot of the editing. She's the one that does a lot of the Snapchat shout outs. She can do the podcast without her. Not what she wants, but what she's willing to do.
When I got this document, this was the exact moment I vividly remember making the decision to pick up the phone and call Dave Portnoy. Because in my mind, they had no idea yet that Sophia and I were not agreeing. I told him, Dave, I want to take the deal. Sophia and I have individual contracts. I want to sign the deal that you offered me on the rooftop. After that moment, I continued to negotiate my own deal. I got my own representation. I got my own lawyers that Peter Nelson did not pick for me. I had control. I picked my own lawyers, and we began to negotiate my deal.
But that is it, guys. Please leave in the comments below what you think of this situation. If you do like these videos where I go a little bit more specific into these longer apology or drama-filled videos, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out the next one.